What is up guys, Wraec here with a new video, and today I want to talk about some problems with the Star Expedition boss, with Star Expedition in general, and the current state of it. Because, well, if you don't know about it already, before this last Star Expedition season, DH Games hit us with a new update, bringing some small things, bringing one very interesting thing like the new Void campaign boss, but also saying we updated Star Expedition, and we brought a big update to Star Expedition, bringing finally some content to it. And I mean, I was happy about this, let me tell you. I was very happy about this, and maybe in the time that we talk about this, let's do some good Delta fights. Let's do some nice fights here. Let's get maybe place 1 if we can. So, I was very happy about this because I have been waiting for 6 months. For 6 months ago, and I checked this, now like 7 months even, I did my very first one-shot of the former Boss 1. And Boss 1 was like the hardest boss, and I one-shot it like 6-7 months ago. And ever since, Star Expedition hasn't really been the same for me. Because what has made Star Expedition and literally every boss fight interesting for me was the hunt for the highest damage. Like you were waiting for this one hit that really nuked the boss, and that you could like post it to your guild channels to flex a little bit. Honest, let's be honest about this. That was part of the reason. In my case, I mean, like for Star Expedition certainly, because I mean most strategies about this were like clan secret stuff, so I couldn't really post it on YouTube. So at least let me flex in guild channels, I guess. But yeah, that was like a big driving factor behind this, and big driving factor also behind me upgrading my account to the state that it's in now. And so when I one-shot this guy, this was all over. Like, I mean, I could certainly go ahead and one-shot this guy maybe on turn 13, maybe on turn 11, which I eventually did. But is this really better? Not really. Like, the factor is still how much damage do you do, and when you one-shot, well, then you reach the maximum damage. Congratulations, you beat the game. Is this the time to quit? That is the question. And for many, actually, yes. For many, actually, yes. I know a lot of people that spent a lot towards Star Expedition that said, okay, I guess I've completed it. And I think one thing that certainly led to even more people, and with people in that situation, I really mean whales, because those were the first guys that really could clear this boss, was that DH said, well, we have no plans to really enhance Star Expedition. And I was like, wait, how do you have no plans to enhance Star Expedition? Literally, I see people spend for that. So people go into events and they say, oh, if I have that star soul, maybe I do a little bit more damage. If I go ahead and clear this boss and get like a little bit of the destiny materials, maybe I have more damage. Oh, a little bit too little HP on my MFF. Okay, I buy a better copy. And all of that stuff is in the end money for DH Games. So I was like, if you like don't give the people something to spend for, they will eventually stop spending. So it felt to me very counterproductive to actually go ahead and not update Star Expedition. Quite literally, it is also a very easy to do thing. I mean, it certainly doesn't require you to go in depth and like design whole new content. The expectation wasn't like that. If you ask me what my expectation for Star Expedition was, I would have said, well, I think they are going to go ahead and give us boss 200 to 300. Because, well, in the initial version of Star Expedition, we had 100 bosses. So that was literally it, 100 bosses in there, and not much more. So you cleared those bosses, and then the last one you could clear more often. That was horrible damage. You could clear more often, and that was like it. And then they released the updated version of the boss with a little switch, with a little different design, and it was like another 100 bosses with a little increase to the amount of attacks that we had. And I would have expected that they do this the same, and was very surprised to see then that they went ahead and like decided to completely revamp Star Expedition. And to an extent, I even understand that. You have a certain base power creep in the game, like every player gets stronger just by being able to utilize more power mechanics. And when Star Expedition was released, we certainly didn't have that many power mechanics. That was the time when star spawns were a meta source of stats, where having star spawns was great. And like, we're not even talking about the advanced star spawns there, those didn't exist. We're not even talking about Starspawn rerolls there, those didn't exist. Galleries on the Celestial Island that many players today forget about, and star spawns, those were like your meta stat givers. And then we were talking a little bit about copies as well, and all of that was like the thing. So now that we have Treasure Train, this is already like outscaled by a ton. You have like star spawn rerolls that can give you stats. Galleries are pretty easy to accomplish, and you can upgrade your heroes very further with Destiny and everything. Destiny is very early on available. You just need 1 noble core and you can get Destiny 3, which is insane, and like a power that would have rivaled Whales at the time when Star Expedition was released, easily surpassing them as well. So now the question many will ask, like, but Wraec, I don't have much in Treasure Train. Yeah, but go ahead and compare it to Star Spawns, and go ahead to compare it to Galleries, and you will see, well, even a little bit in Treasure Train is often more than what you get from other older sources of stats. So in that regard, that is already like a huge change. So that made it kind of trivial to clear the first bosses in Star Expedition. And for myself, it was still kind of fun to clear boss 101. Like going ahead and using like the old Heartwatcher setup and everything. I like that. I had an S-tier Heartwatcher, which was pretty cool to do that, and like a full S-tier setup. Even if an S-tier Livia now, so I thought, oh, that is like pretty cool. But I get that at some point it gets out power crept, and at that point it's no longer really fun and interactive gameplay and might feel more like a burden than everything else. At the same time, it's also a place of comfort. It's a place of comfort for the people that went in there and that knew, well, my account isn't quite that strong, my guild isn't quite that strong, and they still see progression there. They see pretty quick progression and see, okay, last time we were able to clear 65 bosses, next time we will maybe be able to clear 80 bosses. So I think on that side, it kind of had an appeal that DH might have not seen. So like, from the perspective of a whale, yeah, sure, we just clear and we hit every single boss one single time and it's going to die no matter what. But if you are like new, and as a new guild into that game mode, I think like the first easier bosses are kind of nice. The second thing that had me a little bit confused about this release and making like the initial days harder was like how quickly it really got hard. Because I remember I went in there, and on day one, we were able to place to get a place 1 here, very nice. And on day 1 already, I couldn't clear the boss. Like like the first boss I wasn't able to clear because there is a 6-round limit, and it already felt like it had E plus 19 HP or something ridiculous. And I'm just like, oh, if you start in there as a new guild now, how far do you even get? Like, you probably die to boss 1 or something. Like, if you're really on a new server, just got your 30 guys together, just got to the level requirement for Star Expedition, I'm not even sure where it is actually, I'll be honest. And you go in there, that must feel horrible. Like, you don't make progress at all. So that is something that I thought was a little bit weird. And for me personally, I mean, what day 1 experience was like, okay, didn't really do a whole lot of damage, probably need to change up my team. Which in a lot of cases is a thing for a new game mode. If you go in there and you don't do a whole lot of damage, probably it's a team issue. Probably you can double or triple or quadruple or whatever it by just improving the team. And the old teams certainly don't fit the mechanics that we have right now. But for day 1 it was very confusing. Then came day 2 and we were able to go a lot further just because we had like a lot more buffs in there. And then I was just dying. I was like, oh, that is very weird, because my heroes are kind of big. If we go ahead and take a look at my LFAs, like 252 million, we have 31 billion HP, certainly not a weak copy. And for most of my heroes, there is quite a ton of HP on there. Like, even if we go to one of my tenant copies, there's 12 billion. So we have like HP. But I was dying very quickly, and part of it's like the abilities of the new boss. And maybe you haven't seen them already. Let's take a look into them. So there we go. I just did a screenshot over here, just because they don't let you access the boss actually in the meantime between seasons, which I personally, I'll be honest, I don't like that. I think it would be very cool to just see the stats there and not to have to rely on like outside sources. But okay, I'm not too sure if this is even going to be a thing next season, like the same stats and abilities, because, well, they already said that they are listening to the issues, which is unforeseen for DH. And and that they're trying to adjust. So we'll see. The thing here is, we have, of course, 3000% attack damage all time, armor reduction, okay, we know that. Steal 8% of attack for 3 rounds. 2 layers of Calamity and Curse of Decay, thank you for that. I hate Curse of Decay because it removes a buff, the next buff that we receive, and deals a ton of damage. That was, by the way, what was killing you. And this time around, Calamity was changed. We had Silence and Fear before. Now we also have Seal of Light, another nasty invention, a nasty CC, actually. Many people are not really aware of Seal of Light because there aren't too many heroes that can have inflict it. It's like Sun Devourer Eos, a Russell, as far as I remember. And then we have Tara, and Tara had like a super complicated way to inflict it, which was like completely underpowered. I think you had to make the enemy like twice with it, basically CC the enemy twice to even inflict it once, and then it blocks passive skills, and blocking passive skills is super OP. Fun thing, by the way. DH then went ahead, and after they had made Tara and everything so complicated, went ahead and released like Sherlock and Holmes Young with Dove, which blocks not only passive skills but also normal attacks and active skills and everything, really. So that was okay then. But now we have it right here, and blocking passives is like really powerful because a lot of things count as passives. Like literally everything your hero does other than what says active skill or basic attack is a passive skill. Literally everything. So it's actually ridiculous. And as far as I know, stuff like Purify still counts as a passive skill. That was the thing at the time, by the way, also with the Doves, with shapeshifting from Sherlock and Holmes Young. You weren't able to purify that back then, which was really, really funny. So, yeah, this is now in there, Seal of Light blocking passive skills, which really, really hurts your damage if it's on your heroes. But also, if we go like into the passive that actually scales off those CCs, which he has now. This is the counter attack passive skill. Being attacked by active skills or basic attack, launches counter attack to all enemies, dealing 1500% damage and 1 layer on Calamity on them, and 50% chance to inflict 1 layer of Curse of Decay. So that is like an insane counter attack, because even though I think it might say it down below here, but we can like go back, it's like 3000% damage to have Curse of Decay on the enemy. So it's like 4500% damage counter attack. Is actually ridiculous. And the thing is, though, when an enemy is inflicted with fear, we increase holy damage. Okay, holy damage, no problem, we know that. And when it's inflicted with silence, restore self 50 energy. Also okay, I mean, this guy will then ult, can live with that. This last one is the problem. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with Seal of Light, increase self all damage dealt by 15%. And like all damage dealt is a bit of a weird stat that has a few things that are a little bit like unknown or weird about it. First of all, like most stats in the game do have a symbol that appears on top of the head of the hero. Like above a hero, you can usually see the buffs and debuffs as symbols. It's like an old, antiquated system, and it's like very weird and hard to observe, but usually they have a symbol. All damage dealt is a newer stat. It doesn't have a symbol at all. So we can't observe how many stats of this buff the boss even has, and neither can be observed if this can actually be removed by effects that remove attribute buffs. So you can't see that at all if we actually remove this buff, because it won't appear above the head of the boss. So if you see, you will not see the energy, you will see the holy damage, you will usually see the attack steal of the boss, you will never see the all damage dealt. And this is rather annoying, I hate this. And also, what we noticed very, very quickly was, as soon as he gets a few Seal of Lights on you and upgrades his all damage dealt, those marks and those attacks, they hit madly insane. Like, I was trying to use Olivia against this boss, and just so you know, so that we talk about the same thing, on day 2, and I think it was like turn 5 or something, where one mark just like completely annihilated my Olivia from full HP. It was like, you saw one mark activating and my Olivia was gone. And this is my Olivia. It's S tier. It's level 400. T5 has 9.5 billion HP right there. And with like 5,100 soul power on it, we have damage reduction, we have holy damage, silence immunity, holy armor. All of that is on here. And it was like, just like, and it was gone. absolute madness. 5,000 armor as well doesn't do anything to help us against marks as far as I know. And yeah, those are like these stats. So an absolute madness, and still got absolutely annihilated. So yeah, this is a thing that people are annoyed about, because Seal of Light on the one hand blocks their passive skills, so massively reduces the damage that people deal. So they're not really used to it. To them, it feels like their damage just got nerfed, and this is really the bad part of the experience. You now go against this boss, and in contrast to the last time we had to change to the Star Expedition boss, you no longer have this peace of mind of, okay, this was my damage against like the boss, the former boss, and it stayed the same. But now you have to face a new boss that just like replaces the old one, and your damage feels like it got absolutely melted. And I heard a few wails, and it was like, oh yeah, my damage is gone. I didn't do well this season. I certainly didn't do well this season. I have to say I didn't have much time to do stuff this season, which was a little bit sad, I have to say. But now for the next time, I'm going to prepare. And yeah, so that kind of made people feel like really bad. They didn't have the old one. For new guilds, not having the old one is bad. And like a lot of people were confronted with a new boss without really having any time to prepare. In my opinion, also, that was like a weird thing. If I were to release like such an update, Star Expedition update, I would go ahead and I would say like, guys, this huge Star Expedition update is coming. Fear the new boss, don't know, some type of advertisement. And I don't get this. Like, what they were running instead was, by the way, the old auction house ad where they were talking about, here, you can sell your heroes for money. And they were like, oh, I summoned an A-, great, you can sell that for $10. And I posted that to SG Hub, and people had to laugh at it. Can't show it in this video, sadly. I would love to, but I reckon it gets copyright striked or something, and we don't really want that. So yeah, that was funny. Instead, they didn't even make any advertisement for towards this new boss. So, like, really, really weird. Also, I want to mention, do I mind dying to this guy? Not really, not really. I just want to remind people it was the same as for the last boss. Like, really, when the last boss started, people were dying left and right. And eventually, DH Games went ahead and, like, power crept it out of existence. And then, like, the problem wasn't there anymore. But I remember heroes dying and people saying, oh, I can't really damage that boss. And only a few people were. And eventually, like, it is a gacha game. It is an idle game. You just idle your way into the power and then it's okay. But there are also problems with that now. Problems that didn't exist last time. Last time when they buffed the boss, they just added more boss stages to it. And one perspective that I had, and I kind of didn't see in the discussion, but for me personally is very relevant, is loot. I don't know. People are not really talking about it. Maybe before we get into loot, let me show you the other stats, just so that you have a source to see them. Or just show them active skill, basic attack, passive 1, passive 2. So now we've seen them all. But talking about loot, like, the thing is, now clans on average clear less stages of this boss. That is just the case. You cleared less stages than before. Last time, I think it was something ridiculous. We probably cleared 400 stages or something. Something insane, because we cleared this last boss over and over and over and over again. And we got a ton of loot. Now our loot is less, really. And another perspective to it is also the completion loot, for just like completing Star Expedition. That has also got worse. It didn't get worse right now, but it got worse over time, because that is what you currently get. This like place 3 that we got this time, by the way. Oh yeah, you can't see my horrible points in here. That is good. But that is what you get at the moment. And I remember this being relevant. If I now go into the Omega Project chat, the old guild chat of Omega Project Guild, and I search for Star Expedition, I will find some people being hyped about this, because this was very relevant when it was released. It was Celestial Island materials at the time where Celestial Island materials rare. This was rare. This rivaled events, like, at that time. The 100k chest was absolute madness. You were wailing on Im's adventure to get the Celestial Island materials. That was like the time at that. And the loot has stayed the same ever since. And now they let the loot that you can drop from the stages stay the same, but reduce the amount of stages that you can really clear by buffing the boss. So really the loot took a hit. The mode was revamped, but the loot wasn't. At this very moment, I would expect the most meta, the most evolved game mode in the game, which, I mean, Next Expedition really isn't. It is the most evolved game mode would be this thing that we saw one time and never repeated, Realm Clash. By the way, DH Games, where is it? I don't know. Nobody knows when it's going to come back. But let's say it's Star Expedition. I would expect this to drop actual Star Soul materials as well. Why does this not drop Star Soul materials? I mean, it is not. It is part of the old Void thing, but you decided to carry it with you for years. So now, where are my stars? Where's my Star Soul essence? Where are my materials? Where are my shards for like some course or something? It's all not in there. That is relic loot, and the game mode now lives on live support from people trying to find competitive situations in this game and trying to compete against other guilds. That is the live support it's living from, and it really shouldn't. I remember the times, and I kind of wish they would be back, where it was actually meaningful to go ahead and clear content because you enabled yourself to get more loot. And I point at Void Vortex at this moment, and maybe some of the best times we've seen in Idle Heroes so far, where you were really going ahead and you were trying to compete in there. I had a very long streak, by the way, here, Tiberius, and then me, I was starting to take over. But at that point, Rocknas, hate goes out to you, guys, mate. No, not really. He broke my chain, though. Yeah, this was very relevant to clear, because not only were you getting like weekly loot, or twice a week, I think Void Vortex is, but also you get the completion loot, of course. You get like all of this, and it was really, really well relevant to go ahead and at that time just clear the fire, clear Vanquisher. And the way you did this was, of course, with the approved Jesus method of cheating the game with magic stone swords. And if you have no idea what that is, then please write that down in the comments, because I would love to make a video about this entire method, because that was one of the more interesting times of Idle Heroes. And I think we can do a reaction maybe to Jesus video. And I can give you my thoughts on it, and that might be really cool. But this game mode actually worked, and you could see the difference between players that AFK'd, collected the resources and the materials necessary to clear this game mode, and the people that didn't, because you had a much higher gain of stellar crystals and everything. And of course, if there is a passive gain that is game relevant, then you want to acquire it as early as possible. Now we don't have that really anymore. Like for Star Expedition, it is relic loot, doesn't really play a role anymore. I found myself, by the way, in preparation of this video, I found myself with 20 million of each CI material in my bag, not knowing what to do. And I think if I just randomly look at some boxes, I always have like CI material boxes that I don't use, because I don't care. I don't need more houses, so really doesn't play a role. But I miss those times. I miss those times where they updated the loot as well, like kept it relevant, and I think like Star Expedition should have gotten this treatment as well. Overall, we find ourselves in like this weird mode, where also in Void Campaign, I don't need to clear the newest island because it doesn't matter. The extra loot that I get from this is irrelevant to me. The Void Horde loot that we get from here is irrelevant. Yeah, there is a little bit, like, look at that. That's 58k overall. That is 58k. That is the reward horde that you even have to fight for Void Island 10, a one-time loot in the game. And if I now go ahead and locate the boss, by the way, I failed this stage 9 a few times, a little bit horrible. I have to say anything more, that's 4 times that from a single fight. From a single fight, also one-time reward. So it is ridiculous. I don't understand it. It doesn't make much sense to me. And it is, by the way, interestingly enough, I thought, in regards to the damage that the Star Expedition boss deals, I thought like, okay, well, it was the same as last time, really no issue. The H power crept it out of existence. I thought they were going to sell the solution. Like, people were saying, oh, they're just going to release like a new Star Soul, and there always going to be a Star Soul, and it's going to be like insane and have like abilities that help us stay alive. And I was like, well, maybe could see that new Star Soul would be in order, because like, can we see that right here? I'm pretty well equipped in terms of Star Souls at this very moment. I'm actually like not completing event. Today I wanted to do an event live stream, and then I noticed I don't want any of the loot. And that is an issue. Like, and the Age now said they are not planning to like deliver a power creep. And I was like, not planning to deliver a power creep? I don't get that. I'm starting to skip events because I don't need them. I unlocked like Destiny level 16 now, by the way. It's like the highest form of divine power at the moment, I think. And then you can go ahead and go a little bit more. It doesn't really matter. I can still upgrade this. It's like no rush though. It's the last one. I mean, what would I do? I'll have to upgrade this one to level 24, which is one more event drop. I have no rush in this at all. So I was a little bit weirded out by that they don't do this. Like, but they deny they don't want our money, and it's very weird in my opinion. So I'm not too sure what the Age is doing here. They have announced that they want to address this loot perspective. They have announced that they want to address like the gameplay perspective of this as well. If the Age understands what the gameplay problems with this really are and what the people see, that is another question. For me, it's like a lot of disappointment on the player side. A lot of feeling weaker than you have before. A lot of the feeling of not like progressing, which you usually natively do in an idle heroes or an idle game, but being thrown a little back and now feeling super weak. Mainly coming from them like reworking existing boss stages instead of adding new ones, which I think in this one is really a mistake. And overall, just like feeling like getting a little bit destroyed for nothing really, because there is no loot in that you really need. The loot is elsewhere. Probably Ethereal Realm, if you really focus on it, can give you more and better loot at the moment than Star Expedition. And many people are too lazy to do that, including me by now. I don't want to do it anymore. But yeah, so those are like my thoughts, my initial thoughts on this topic. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. And with that, I wish you a great day, and we'll see us in the next one.